Hi, I believe this is something that all engineers will experience once in their life. Going to a high-profile meeting to kick off a new project. In my case, it was to discuss replacing a historic city bridge. When I got to the meeting, all the tables were laid out in a circle, with the goal of facilitating communication about the project. There were city officials, the general public, historians, architects, engineers, and even some reporters. This was a big deal for the city. The meeting started with the city officials explaining the bridge replacement project. They were looking to replace an arch bridge over a little river, a bridge that had been built in the 1930s. The current bridge had narrow driving lanes, dangerously thin walkways for pedestrians, and frankly, it was falling apart. Big chunks of the bridge often fell into the river below. There were some speeches about the historic significance of the bridge, how much pride the city had in the bridge, and what the bridge meant to the community. Well, then we went around the room to introduce ourselves and what we did. After that, the big question came up: what should we replace the current bridge with? When it came my turn to answer, I said, it's pretty simple. The current bridge was a cast-in-place concrete arch in a small canyon over a river. I suggested it would be best to replace the bridge with a similar arch bridge and use the canyon walls to support the bridge. Although that would be complicated for a contractor because they would have to work from barges in the river and use false work while constructing the bridge. I also suggested a second choice. Maybe a steel arch bridge that contractors could build from above and avoid being in the river. Essentially, as a bridge engineer with experience, I knew the best replacement right away. But by explaining the best bridge without priming the audience, I made a big mistake. The next speaker, an architect, showed me the error of my ways. The architect said, well, we should start from the beginning. We should get a sense of the history of the city and understand the historical significance of the bridge. What was happening at the time the bridge was being built? How important is it for the bridge to connect both sides of the city to make a community? He wanted to find out how people use the current bridge and how would people use the future bridge. He asked what people thought about the bridge. He explained that the bridge was more than a bridge, it was a symbol of the city. The architect went on, we should consider using materials that are local to the city area. We should consider how to make the bridge construction sustainable. He discussed how the new bridge fits into a modern world and how climate change may affect the bridge. How the city should create little spots on the bridge for people to stop and enjoy the river views. The architect discussed how the bridge should be an icon for the city and how they could use the bridge in their promotional materials. How an iconic bridge could inspire pride in the citizens of the city. Well, you could see right away I was going to be working for the architect. And rightly so, the architect had a compelling story. Engineers don't know how to tell stories. We know how to design things and build things, but we're really not good at telling stories about the architecture bridges that we build. I think about that project a lot. In the end, the architect got all the credit for the design, and he richly deserved it. The funny thing is, it just ended up being an arch bridge, a steel arch bridge, like I thought it would be. The architect really didn't change the design because there was limitations in what you could do in the spot, and as a bridge engineer, I knew what they were, but he got the city officials, the public, and the reporters excited, and they supported the project 100%. So the architect and I ended up at the same spot, but the architect got people to believe in the project. I would have built them a bridge without a story.